MacVoices Live Holiday Party Part 1. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is sponsored by Upstart, fair and fast personal loans. Go to upstart.com/MacVoices and find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is MacVoices Live. We are live on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. We'd love to have you with us in the chat room. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, come on over. If not, then by all means, put it on your calendar for the next time around, because the chat room is always open. We'd love to have you. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are, come on in. So this is a kind of strange night because this is our designated MacVoices Live holiday party, and there are exactly 3 of us so far.
We're popular.
Yeah, we know one has maybe bowed out, one has definitely bowed out, one has said that he's on the way, and the rest of it, we have no idea who's going to show up. So maybe kind of a quiet party, which seems somehow apropos given the year we've all been through.
Yeah.
But so let's find out at least who's here to start, and then we'll just keep on going. So first up, Mr. David Ginsburg is here as always. David, great to have you.
Great to be here as always. Happy holidays to everybody. We've got exciting times ahead of us here this coming weekend with Christmas and New Year's, and I'm glad to be here just to talk about stuff. That's it.
Exactly. Also here, making return appearances, is Mr. Frank Petrie. Frank, great to have you back.
Yeah, well, I'm actually strange. This is a true story. I'm actually stuck here. I'm on the 3rd floor of an apartment building. The other day, there was a Friendly's downstairs in this building, and they were just removing stuff. And it sort of looked like they were just split in town because they had a U-Haul truck. They weren't doing it professional. Well, I go to use the elevator tonight to go get my mail and go get a Coke on the street, and the elevator's not working. Well, today they tested the fire alarms. It's not unusual. So I called and said, look, the elevator's not working. Well, I find out that the people that own Friendly's sort of just split town. They didn't tell the management. None of the fire alarms were turned off. Nothing. So now they got some guy coming out from an hour away to try to get the elevator running so I could get out of the building should the building catch a flood. It's
not good.
It's one of those years. It's a perfect way to end the year.
Yeah, it just seems, again, apropos.
Yeah.
So
and
I
also,
dropped in just at the right time.
Pants.
Yeah,
and didn't say underpants either.
Coming in for a landing, Mr. Jeff Gammett.
Boom. So is Friendly's a restaurant?
Yeah, it's ice cream and restaurant. Yeah.
They like to think they're a restaurant.
Formerly a restaurant? Yeah. Okay. So then the story you just told is so familiar. It's amazing how many restaurants just shut down and disappear literally overnight.
Yeah, but these people just ran out of town. They didn't inform anybody.
Which is
legally, they just split.
Yeah, that happens all the time. The number of restaurants just on Pearl Street that have done that, like one day they're there, and the next day the employees show up and
it's not there.
There's no business, and they had no idea. It has happened so often. It's horrible.
Yeah. Friendly's is an East Coast thing. I mean, I know. I think I went there once. It was like a coffee shop. They're famous for their ice cream, aren't they?
Yeah,
they were. Yeah.
Well, they were.
We just had a Tim Hortons open here.
I saw.
I swear to you, and I went to it. I put it up on Instagram.
So
I said, "Hey, we got Canadian culture."
It's like a Dunkin' Donuts from Canada.
Yeah, it's a coffee company from Canada.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're working with Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber helped them design 3 donuts. And that's their big sales pitch now.
3 whole donuts.
Wow.
They're those
his face
little
on
donut round things. And they're like, really? I just looked at it. It's like, I don't know that I want to eat something that an entertainer came up with. The odds of that being good, just
don't judge.
No, I love to judge.
I would have no trouble with depending who the entertainer is. Justin Bieber is not it, but you know.
No.
Well, what if Justin Bieber secretly is like an amazing pastry chef? And just chooses to be a singer instead? I mean, I'm just making this up, but I mean, what if that were the case? And then everyone's like, I would never eat a donut he designed, and then it turns out he has the recipe for the best donut in the world, and then everyone's like, oh, I wish I would have known.
Suppose Elon Musk came out with some kind of waffle.
Well, I'd assume he stole it from someone else.
Yeah,
bought the company,
borrowed.
Yeah, I mean, I will listen to Al Roker on barbecue. I'm not listening to Justin Bieber on donuts.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
It just doesn't work. Just doesn't work. So, Jeff, as I told there's one other thing I need to mention too, which is sort of a warning. We've had some very strange power outages here in our area today.
Really?
Some folks
like clowns running down the street and then the power goes out.
Well,
that kind of strange.
Jeff, the funny thing is, nobody's saying what's going on or why, but some of our neighbors have been without power for 11, almost 12 hours now. So, you know, I have happily been spared this, but should anything go weird or wrong or I suddenly disappear, well, you'll know what happened. So,
yeah, the Bieber donut.
Yeah. Justin Bieber showed up at my doorstep with donuts.
Yeah, with a dozen.
We were talking pre-show about the fact that this is the time of year where nothing really happens. That, you know, sometimes it feels like the news sites are just trying to create news or create things to talk about. That said, though, there are a couple things that I thought were interesting. And one of them is that the TSA is preparing to begin accepting mobile driver's licenses in February 2022.
That's quick.
Oh, they're going to go with it.
Yeah, and I couch this as important because we're getting away from some of the idea of having to carry paper or laminated paper or whatever, and go with something a little more digital. Of course, you know, that has its own challenges, but it just feels like it should, in theory, cut down on some identity theft and improve security. Or maybe
the thing is, though, they're going to have to get more states on board. There's very few states in the United States, anyway, that are on board with this, and they still have a long way to go to get their technology in place that they can make that an official ID. I mean, me living in Illinois, you know, just the real ID, it took them 4 years just to finally get that into place. When they had to have it done, well, obviously the pandemic didn't exactly help, and that just delayed things. But they were like one of the last states just to get that in place, so you don't have to use your if anybody doesn't know, the real ID for the United States, that it's in place of having to use a passport to get on a plane. So
at this point, I'm just trying to think. Is a real ID required to fly? I mean, I know that was going to be a requirement that kept getting pushed back, and then the pandemic.
Real ID or your passport.
Yeah.
Or a passport. Okay.
A passport. So I believe it is, and it's mandated now.
So I'm assuming, since I've been like completely out of the loop of life today, just the show's already started, right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Underpants.
Oh, good.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
You're obliged. Okay. Doesn't Chuck pay you to say that?
Yes, Chuck actually pays me a lot of money to say that. You would be surprised at what gets Chuck really happy, and
be careful with that.
And if
let's not go there.
If this is something that I can do to help make Chuck smile, and it pays the rent, well, then who am I to disagree?
True,
absolutely.
I have something to say on the topic.
Great.
Topic.
Go.
Okay. So TSA taking digital IDs. I think that's that's just a natural progression of where technology is going. Dave is totally nailing it with, and I'm paraphrasing you now, Dave. It's a haphazard implementation, and like in Colorado, we have an incredibly dumpster fire-esque digital ID system that isn't even accepted across the state.
Wow.
There's like a handful of cities. When I say handful, I think it really is like 5 cities in the state that will accept the digital ID. So basically, it's useless. But yes, I get that even though this is a thing that's been happening for several years, it's still a new thing, and adoption will slowly come along. But there's a big problem that I see, and this creates a division among people, because now you have to have the ability to pay for a smartphone so that you can have a digital ID. Now, that's not today, but we will reach that point. So what do we do when we get to the point where digital ID is the standard, and you have a whole cross-section of the population that for whatever reason just can't afford to have a phone that supports digital ID? What do we do?
Maybe they come up with something new like a digital wallet, and that's all the function it does.
Then who pays for it?
Well,
See that, Jeff, I hear what you're saying. I guess, this is the problem, and this is a dangerous topic, depending on which side of it you fall on. But we cannot keep going to, we cannot continue to find reasons not to do things. We need to push ahead. There needs to be something, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if that means that there's an extra burden placed on folks in that situation where maybe they have to renew every year, or every 6 months or something. I'm really spitballing here, and somebody's going to say, well, that's discrimination. Well, yeah, it is, I guess, but at the same time, I don't want to hold everybody else back from having all the benefits. Now, there are plenty of people that are going to say, this is more digital tracking. This is more, they'll be able to tell more about you, and from your digital ID. I can hear it come.
Not really.
So, I don't think so, but
that ship sailed, and it's flying Facebook's flag.
That flew before technology was involved. Think of J. Edgar Hoover and what all the dirt he held on all the presidents back to the 40s.
Yeah.
So it's like,
this is not.
We used to say, I'm sorry, Jeff.
Go ahead. It's all you, Frank. I love hearing you speak.
The dulcet tones. No, I remember it's going to be that way no matter what technology or whatever comes on that's new. Because I remember I lived in the area where they invented cable television, because the place was a geographical Tupperware bowl. And what we used to do is, those of us that didn't want to pay to watch TV, we would shimmy up at night. We would shimmy up the telephone poles, and we would hook in to somebody else's line. So we'd be getting free cable. And the slogan pretty much was, if you can scramble it, we can descramble it. But then eventually they came up with an idea to ruin our black boxes, is they would send every 3 months, they would send a little jolt of electricity through. And they knew our black boxes couldn't handle it, and they would burn out. So then we had to build it. It just keeps one upping. And no matter what technology or what future, should unfold, there's always going to be a way to defeat it.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple things, if I may, Jeff, before we go on. First of all, I want to welcome everybody in the chat room, with a special mention to Webb, who is celebrating, as he says, another lap around the sun. Congratulations, Webb.
Ooh, bravo, Webb.
Happy
Oh,
celestial
look who's
orbit.
here.
Yeah. And also
And her
to note
Christmas tree.
that Kelly Gamont Kelly Gamont and her Christmas tree have joined us. How you doing, Kelly? Good to have you.
I'm glad I put on my good flannel shirt for Interplanetary Web Day. I'm glad I'm dressed up.
There you go, Webb. Get a t-shirt with that on. Interplanetary Web Day.
All right, Chuck,
I'm sorry,
before
Jeff.
I move on, can I do a clarification?
Oh yeah, I interrupted you, but I want to make sure I got those in. So yes,
To be fair, giving Webb a shout out is the priority. Like seriously. Okay, so ultimately, where I'm going with the concern about digital IDs is that we need to make sure as we move forward and this becomes more widely adopted that we have a system in place so no one is disenfranchised.
This edition of MacVoices is sponsored by Upstart. Fair and fast personal loans. Go to upstart.com/MacVoices and find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments. 1 minute things seem to be getting back to normal. The next minute it seems like they're going back the other way. One of the best ways to deal with things is to take control of them whenever possible. If your financial life is one of those things that is in turmoil, you need to check out Upstart. Upstart is fair and fast personal loans that can help you consolidate credit card debt, other high-interest debt, and personal expenses. You start that process by visiting upstart.com/MacVoices and doing an online rate check to see what your smart rate is. And don't think it's going to be like all the others, because Upstart is different. They don't just look at your credit score, but at your current employment and income for loans from $1,000 to $50,000. All that in just 5 minutes. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/MacVoices. That's upstart.com/MacVoices. Don't forget to use my URL so they know I sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Again, go to upstart.com/MacVoices right now. Thanks to Upstart for their support of MacVoices.
I have an idea. Suppose you always have to get a Social Security card. If someone could devise just a simple electronic thing that would have your Social Security card that you could add other government cards into. Maybe, because if I recall, do you have to pay for Social Security cards?
No.
Mm-hmm.
No. Maybe that just gets rolled in somewhere. And that becomes a thing. And that's all it does. It's just basically an electronic wallet that just holds certain driver's license, your Social Security, stuff like that.
Frank, the only thing go ahead, David.
I'll say you shouldn't be carrying around your Social Security card anyway. So I don't know if it's that important in that example you give, if it's something you really should be carrying around as it is, let alone be electronic.
Well, and right now, I mean, your Social Security number is something that you definitely don't want people to get a hold of.
Right.
So if you had everything tied into
Dave's.
that, yeah, that's nice. You look so much alike. But yeah,
He's the better looking one though.
That could be problematic. If somebody got that, then they have access to everything that goes along with it. So.
Yeah, but can't they sort of do that now through hacking?
Well, yeah.
Or even
to some degree.
Or I remember going to Times Square before New Year's Eve was a big TV thing. And it was just basically, if you had a heart attack in the middle of Times Square, you're dying right there because there were no ways to get any ambulance or anything through. And gangs used to come through in 12, and they would do a sort of like it was a drill. And they would run through the crowd, and the first 8 guys they be going, your mother was there when you're left, your mother was there when you're left, you're right, da-da-da-da. And they would just slap you. Meanwhile, the trailing 4 guys of the 12, they were not just slapping you, they were taking your wallet. So no matter what whether it's a physical technology or an electronic technology, someone's always going to figure out a way to get around it or somehow get it from you.
Yeah. I don't know. It feels like the digital has a better chance of maybe being secure because you can encrypt it. But, there's always going to be that point of decryption when it's needed to be used. That's where the vulnerability is going to be.
Yeah.
So.
Well, everything's going to have a weak point because people.
Yes.
Like I've spent too long doing security Friday over at TDO to not be like, because people.
She's jaded.
Because I'm not jaded at all. I just keep seeing it, and it just continues to convince me that because people is going to always be the flaw in whatever the system is that you're trying to use. And I don't know what I walked into that started with J. Edgar Hoover. And I feel like Jeff and I
there's so many life experiences that begin with that sentence.
This is precisely what I'm talking about. I mean, J. Edgar Hoover and I, the only thing we probably have in common is the same taste in nylons. It's the best I can do. But
that could be a start.
Zing! Well, look, it was going to either be Jeff or me. You have to know that's where that was headed. You had to have seen that coming down the pike. I guarantee it.
You really did just beat me to it, Kelly.
I mean, if not, hello and welcome to MacVoices featuring Jeff and Kelly. Clearly you're new. Like
After Dark started early tonight, folks.
No, that's not even After Dark. After Dark involves other articles of clothing, but we'll save it for another day.
Did it just get hot in here?
A little bit. Jeff will be in his bunk. I'll
be right back.
If you think this is bad, you should see the chat room right now.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
By the way, Jeff, loving
Kelly.
the mug.
Oh, my mug.
For fuck's sake.
It's nerdy is the thing, is that it's straight from a Marvel movie.
And the funny thing is, I got this because someone said, "Oh my God, I saw this awesome mug and it says for Fox's sake." And I thought, well, that's really funny. I went on Amazon and I found this mug and I bought it. And then I found out that they had seen the Spider-Man trailer where Doctor Strange is drinking from this mug. And by chance, that's the mug that I ordered. And then I saw the trailer and I'm like,
that's so funny.
Oh yeah, this mug was meant to be.
Indeed.
Yes.
And just for our audio listeners, the word is Fox, Fox. Okay, just so you know.
The mug says 04, and then there's a cute little illustration of a fox, and then sake.
Right.
So
just to be sure.
Yeah.
Webb says the Christmas show. Yeah, you don't.
That's a gift guide.
The Christmas show. Yeah, there's the
where
gift
else are
guide.
you going to find?
Yeah. The other
like
mug. Your other option is a purple mug that says Thanos was right down the side. Yeah. By the way,
I actually need to order that mug.
I have the link for you on Etsy.
Thank you.
Yes, I've seen Spider-Man and I have opinions, but that's a different podcast. To get back to the digital ID thing, the thing that I always, that this conversation always reminds me of is what is, interestingly enough, an older song now by Pet Shop Boys, because I still listen to them and they still make records. Yes, records. Ask your parents. And because in the UK they had a universal ID law that was supposed to be a thing that they were putting in place. And so they wrote this song in response to it called Integral. And that's always the thing that I think of. And the chorus of the song is, if you've done nothing wrong, you've got nothing to fear. If you've something to hide, you shouldn't even be here. And that's every time stuff like this comes up, that's all I hear in the back of my head is, and one of the verses is, everyone has their own number in the system that we operate under. We're moving to a situation where your lives exist as information. And that song was terrifying when it came out. And I can't even remember how long ago that was, but it's been a while. See, now I'm gonna have to go look it up on Apple Music because I want to know.
I thought it was West End Girls, but
No. That song is that song is older than some people who have appeared on this show. Number one,
Some people watching.
not me.
no, not me. Yeah.
So
Anyway.
it's Chuck.
So,
Yes, it's Chuck.
Just being perplexed.
But Kelly, I want to take that and riff on that for just a second. Not the song, but
By the way, I looked it up. It's 2006. That song is 15 years old, and it's still the first thing that pops into my head when people want to have this conversation. So, yeah.
Okay, so our lives have become, information.
Mm-hmm.
They, there's no question about it. It happened. We sort of saw it happening and didn't realize what really was going on until it got there. But at the end of the day, is it? I mean, yes, there are bad aspects to it, but there were bad aspects to the Conestoga wagons going into the Wild West and people getting arrows shot in their chest. So isn't it just is it really overall a bad thing, or is it just the fact that parts of it haven't been implemented as well as they could?
Well, again, because people, I think inherently by itself, it's not, like people putting information on the web, putting information on the internet, putting information wherever it is they're putting that information is a very, very different proposition from putting it all on Facebook, who is weaponizing that, or putting it all on, some other platform that is then using that. I don't remember where I heard the phrase, but the thing that I remember hearing that resonates again in this conversation is enrich your profile. And that's the thing that I think of. Like if you have a Gmail address and you used that to sign up for a Facebook account and you use both of those things regularly, there are a number of organizations to whom Google and Facebook have sold that information, and they have loads and loads of data about you. And whoever Cambridge Analytica may know more about you than some members of your family as a result. And so like inherently having that information, sharing that information with other people, that kind of stuff, I don't think that's necessarily the bad thing when it becomes weaponized, when algorithms are applied so that the experience that I have on Facebook is very different from the one that Jeff has, is very different from the one that Frank has. Like the fact that all of those things could be leading us to something that is potentially disinformation, active misinformation, somebody uninformed who is saying something that is confirmationally biased. And so I'm going to continue to follow that person. And then when that person goes completely away from reality and turns into something else and I'm still believing them, that can be a huge problem. So I don't know that like necessarily having those things be information. I mean, remember when we like for various values of when we were kids, right? When all of us were kids and we'd watch like the Jetsons and there would be stuff that was tailored to George Jetson because it was the future and everybody just knew. And so he only ever saw the advertisements that were meant for him. And that sounded fantastic until we actually got it. And it turns out that sort of thing actually kind of sucks because not all of the people who think that they're tailoring ads for us are in fact tailoring ads for us, or they're tailoring ads for things that they think we want to buy, or based on some other piece of information that is completely false. And that kind of stuff is the part where it just gets frustrating because now I have extra layers of stuff I have to tune out, as I move through the world because the ads I'm seeing maybe aren't relevant and things like that. And I find it sort of frustrating that, that's the case. I don't want it to be the case. I want it to be the future of like the Jetsons and not the future of like, what was the Tom Cruise movie Minority Report? Mm-hmm. Like, we're headed to Minority Report and I don't want it to be headed. I love Westworld, but I don't want it to be a documentary. I want it to stay fiction. And I don't think that's the case. That's really what it comes down to.
Okay, but there are a couple of things here that I mean, I got lost in a couple of your points, Kelly, but but I think it's interesting that all right, before this, we had to dive in, and we all were assaulted with ads all over the place for things that really weren't relevant to us. Mm-hmm. And now at least it's a little more relevant, and yet we complain about it. And by the way, I'm not advocating in either direction. I'm just observing that now we complain about the fact that, okay, I see the same ad for pardon me, something that I looked at on the web 3 days ago, and the ads are still chasing me around the web. Is that better? At least I expressed an interest in something like that, at least in theory I did. So.
Well, I don't think the relevance is there. And I think, I looked it up once is a very different thing from this is something I am interested in and have done some research on and am trying to figure out which one to buy. Those there's a world of difference between those two things. Like I was getting a whole bunch of ads for, what's it called? Thunder shirts. So a shirt that you put on your dog when it's when there's bad weather or there's fireworks, whatever, and it's supposed to help your dog calm down. I didn't know what it was, but I kept getting these advertisements for it. So I couldn't seem to escape them. And so finally one day I just broke down and went, okay, for a month now, this is the only ad I've been seeing. What is this? So then I went and looked it up, and then I got another month's worth of ads for something that is absolutely not relevant to me in any way because I own 0 pets. So in that case, I was like, I don't know where you got your information in the first place. And now you've caught you. I went and looked it up and found out, oh, it's a thing for the dog, 4th of July or when the weather's bad. Okay, now I know. And then because I looked it up, that ad followed me around forever. So.
Yeah. Brad in the chat room says, at what do you draw the line? A barcode tattoo with your ID? And Brittany says, because our friend Brittany Smith is in our chat room right now, says, I'm good with drawing lines right now. And I agree. I guess, Kelly, there's a certain logistical thing to it about, how do I designate something that I casually look up versus something that maybe, to your point, I'm researching for purchase. And, there is a difference. I mean, I just put together all the holiday gift guides. Well, some of you all picked things that I have zero interest in, but I'm still being followed around by the ads.
Now that you looked it up or went and grabbed a link from somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a bit problematic.
I assume Facebook and Amazon and Google think that I have the weirdest, most eclectic tastes ever because of the stuff that I end up looking up just, for articles, or someone asks me a question and I have to do a little bit of research before I answer them. And yeah.
Good news is
the ads I get.
Yeah. Hey, Jim Ray has joined us. Jim, welcome. It's great to have you. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. What do you make of all this discussion? I don't know if you've been listening in or not, or if you're just diving in the middle.
Well, the good news for Jeff is that Google and those people don't know anything about him because it's lost in the noise.
Set pants.
Yeah, they're trying.
Right, but you're giving them all this other
Bless
stuff.
their hearts.
The panel will be back more in the next edition of MacVoices to talk more about some of these issues and eventually to share some of their holiday traditions. I hope you'll join us then. Until then, and as always, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.